All right, guys, here we're going to talk about Season 1, Episode 9 of The Good Place.
So we open up. We're in Michael's office, and it all gets broken down. They explain finally what happened.
Yeah.
You died within 1/10,000th of a second of each other. Ironically, because you were trying to save you. And then she's like, "You fucked that up." And she goes, "I am so sorry about that. It's this thing.
So sorry I died trying to save you. Yeah,
I
should have succeeded. Maybe only one of us would have died."
Exactly. So like two people in the same place at the same supermarket, and what is it like? You were there, buying food for the local soup kitchen
while you were there for the "How can we get free energy for the poor" convention or something.
Yes, and you were there buying margarita mix and a magazine entitled "Baby Plastic Surgery Disasters" or whatever it was, and she's and she makes a face like, "Oh, something like that." Yes. So there's a weird contradiction maybe here or something like that where they go "Oh, they're just dots to us," and he pulls up the map of all the red and green dots and all that stuff. And I remember thinking well, you have all their memories though. You play them for them. So in your own memory, you would look at a mirror, so you would know that who that person is potentially, right? You'd have a confirmation thing. But again, I'm not looking to
But it all just comes over in
the
a form of a file saying if they're good or bad.
Yeah.
And most people don't die within the 10th of a second of somebody else.
Exactly. This is probably never
with
happened.
the same name.
Right. So this
which
is
probably the biggest trigger.
Probably not a thing that they really have to worry about often or something like that. So there's probably no one checking, but just more, that's how the world works. You think that there's someone there checking, and no one's definitely, no one's checking.
But this confirms that John Yu's name must be spelled the same as Juan or something, because how else could they both have? And how did they die at the same place and time?
We're gonna get more into John Yu, in future episodes, I hope. In this episode, we'll just say that he gets ratted out at the end, or he gets found out at the end, right?
Yes, but only by his wife or whatever.
Yes. No, and I love that, because she doesn't even know who knows, potentially, right? It's this great thing. And she's just sitting there in your meditation den. I know you're not a Buddhist.
What does he call it? In his bud hole?
His bud hole. Yeah. It's great, because again, and I kind of reflected more on that character too from all the stuff that we've been saying. I now wonder how he even had the wherewithal to write Eleanor the notes in the first place. He's so dumb and so impossibly dumb and bad and just so...
I'm not even sure he did. I imagine somebody else out there just knows, and he happened to know too.
That would be awesome.
That's not what happened, obviously, but yeah, no, he's awesome. Impossibly dumb. How did you not die years earlier?
Just from life, right? I didn't know inflammable and flammable meant the same thing.
He's the kind of guy you'd think would be feeding alligators barehanded and here you go, eat it out of my palm.
Yeah. And they're playing that off, so obviously what I hope they get to, because there's a certain philosophy that any previous episode is in the past, and at any given time we can correct things and just act like it's been that way the whole time. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what they want to go
usually
for.
Usually shows way to season the fuck around with that.
Well, yeah, because you have to. Right. So I'm thinking long term.
A new writer comes on.
Yeah. I'm thinking long term. I feel like what they've done here is try to say that he's so dumb and innocent that he's at peace and whatever, the same way a monk would be, and he can in his dumb reasoning actually get to the same and enlightened position that the monk would get to. They're just not really that's not really what's happening minute to minute, right? But I feel
I think you're almost giving them too much credit.
I feel like that's the character sheet for this character. We're not sure yet where he fits in, but by the end of the season, we should know better.
Well, it's that simple that he's been able to pass this far because people take his dumb behavior in the context of a monk and go, oh, it must be deeper than I understand.
Yes, right.
But really, he's just saying, I want some blunts and fatties.
The cactus. I see, Jianyu. You're brilliant. No, I know, exactly. But I they need to make that more explicit. The show's so quick. They don't have time to really do it, and what little they do is not really working for me. In the same episode, he bonds with Janet. I feel like they're going to go to Pound Town, to use an expression from
Janet, he's going to corrupt Janet, I think.
Yes,
so while she is reprogramming, she's going to learn things from him that she should have been learning from the computer or something.
Yeah, she's going to learn. I think she's going to learn humanity. I think she is the Data or the Odo of the this cast. I think she's going to she's going to surpass her programming by learning.
I think there's
going to
be something where when he gets found out, she deletes or erases
or
her.
Does something. something.
I sent the real John you to hell forever.
You've always been nice to me, John. It'll be this whole like thing.
Yeah.
Because the whole stupid jalapeno poppers thing happens. I actually, again, I love that actress. Right, we talked about that.
She's great.
Right? He's like, it doesn't matter what you know, it just matters what's in your heart. And she's like, I am an information delivery system. That is literally all that matters is what I know, and I have no heart. But thank you. The whole thing, and you're like, okay, and then bad Janet looking like Drew Barrymore, showing up in like black leather and all that stuff, like insulting everything. I love that because we talked about that.
What is even the point of her?
Like,
I don't know.
What is the purpose of having a Janet that behaves in such a manner? Yeah, like fucking. That's what I wanted from the very beginning. If you recall, play like a black and white clip from episode 3 of me being like, oh, and then like there's like a Ted Danson, but in like a different colored suit, and he's like evil or whatever. And same thing, for like Janet. So like I got what I wanted out of a Janet, right? Trevor's a better thing than Ted Danson with like a red bow tie and like evil Ted like that.
I
don't
know actually.
No, okay.
Picture everything that he says coming from Ted Danson's mouth.
Oh, I think he could pull it off.
I think it would be wonderful.
I know. I wonder. That's probably like too. They probably thought about it.
Picture
and they probably
him even
said
with the exact
much.
same like cadence of speech. Yeah. Not even make him say it like an evil person. It's like, all right, buttholes. Like,
okay, trash bag. Just goes through the thing. So we've looped all the way back around now, brilliantly, if I do say so myself, to like the main thing. Mm-hmm. So like Trevor's there with the bad place crew and all that stuff, and we get into the whole business. They start off by saying like, "Hey, maybe we can make a deal here. Do you want a unicorn?" And like immediately to like set the tone, he's like, "Yeah, we could skin it alive, eat its raw flesh. I could, chop off the horn, and grind it up, snort it. Yeah, keep talking." And they're like, "Oh God, no!" And it sets up this whole thing with Ted Danson being like bullied by them, basically, like walked all over him. But
presumably he can just make anything into existence, like that dog. So like I don't know what the actual issue is. I guess other than knowing that it's going to torture whatever your creation is.
No, I know it's a little thin, but like the point of it is supposed to be whatever the point of it's supposed to be. And again, this goes back to what I've been saying. Everyone's learning lessons. It feels very metaphysical to me, or something like that.
Learned how to snort unicorn horn.
He learns how to like stand up for himself from Tahani, which is the opposite of how the whole thing should work. He's the like perfect being taken.
Yeah, Eleanor should teach him how to like
right?
kick ass and take names.
Oh well, yeah, exactly.
Because she took shit for her whole life,
and that's her. She's like, no, you don't just take that or whatever. Right. So that was a little weird, right? A little off kilter or something like that. We get some flashbacks though. Mm-hmm. The whole theme here. So like, Michael's learning how to stand up for himself and not get bullied, and he eventually does.
Yes.
He does a nice little "you get nothing" gobstoppers speech, whatever. Eleanor is learning about being like part of a team. Right, she feels left out. Trevor's convincing her, no, you don't fit in here, third wheel. He's giving her all this shit. We'll get back into that in a minute. But Eleanor's learning about like Chidi says we're part of a team here or something like that. And we get so like there were 3 flashbacks. I thought the first one was awful.
Which one was the first one?
Her in like high school, where she like stands up on the table.
What is that?
That was awful. She's like, "Hey guys, just want to let you know I don't want to be part of any of your clubs or teams or." She doesn't use the word team because that'd be too on the nose. And she even rejects the burnout guy who's like,
that was the only redeeming part of that
cool
memory.
That was cool how you stood up to those poses. And she's like,
"Did you
no.
not hear me, you fuck?"
I told you nothing, right? But it sets up this weird thing, like she's never been a part of anything, right? And that first one is so weird and like out of place.
But if we've cut back to the original flashbacks, it's her like in group settings constantly with people from work or whatever it is for their like designated driver things and bullshit. So she has definitely lumped into groups.
The other 2 flashbacks, well, really just one of them. The one going to the movies actually made sense because that was her like hurting herself and like winning but not seeing that she wasn't winning. And that was interesting. And then the third one is just like a rehash of her working for that fake company that does the whole thing.
Yeah, trick old people, whatever.
But I guess so she was working for like a tech startup or some like fancy company with foosball tables, and they were like, "We want you to stay," and she was like, "Hell no!" So you can look at that too as like she missed an opportunity to like do something good or whatever, right?
I'd love to work there.
Right? We want you to stay on permanently. Yeah, it's gonna be a big no for me, dog. And this is like out or whatever, right? And that should be the whole thing, is that she was foolishly not willing to expose herself to risk by being in group things, and now she's like, no, because this is my new family, because I'm dead, and I don't deserve to be in the bad place. I deserve to be in the medium place. Do you think that's where this whole thing goes?
In lieu of there being no medium place, I will stay here.
Exactly. I really think how much they're mentioning the medium place. I wonder if the medium place comes into play at some point.
If it does, it would not be for. This show goes for 4 seasons. So,
okay.
So we're not gonna have just like
They can't change the name of the show.
No, it's not gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, even knowing that you're entering season 4 is a bit of a spoiler.
Probably, right? Because you know that we can't have like a thrilling, like it turns out that you planned an ending and now it's going to happen.
Yes, but also you could totally have a medium place happen and the show could still be called The Good Place because what was it? Which show? Cougar Town, I think it was, and then it was just like I think that was the example. I never watched the show, but I remember hearing the thing where like it was a show and like they named it something like A, and then by season 2 it was a totally different show.
Okay.
It was like a show about a relationship and blah blah blah. And it was no longer this woman going out with young bucks.
Yeah, Cougar Town would make sense for that.
I believe that's what the story was, if I'm not speaking out of my ass.
Yeah, like Weeds turn out to be all about sex.
But it was always about weed.
I know. I'm joking.
Which was decent until the end. Anything else of note happen in this episode?
Cringeworthy things.
What do you got?
So like, as we continue with the whole thing, so on the way to get to the end, we have the Bad Place crew over at Tahani's mansion, and they're chilling.
Why is there even a crew though?
I don't
Are they
know.
all the same position? Like, are they all demons of the same caliber? Why does Michael not have a crew?
Michael's not even supposed to be in the good place neighborhood
so why
with
is
the
there...
people. So why are they seemingly involved, right? And so from
maybe it takes
clues,
more to torture someone than it does to have them live a happy life.
It's a more hands-on.
Makes sense.
Probably. Like you can't just set it and forget it because the people are all dirtbags and they might find ways to not have their life suck. Yeah. And they have to be there. But we gather from their dialogue and like choices that they're not human. They're like demons.
Well, he
or
says
whatever.
he's a demon at one point.
He says he's a demon, and then two of the other people say like that's almost as dumb as like a person. Implying that like they're not people type of thing, right? So they're also Michaels or Trevors where they're in that form, but they're not really like whatever. They do some karaoke, right? So it like cuts to like who?
Oh, the Hitler speech or whatever, or Stalin,
Nixon tapes.
Nixon tapes,
which for some reason is on par. I didn't know these Nixon tapes existed, but they're like those tapes are like winners, and the idea that like that's their idea of karaoke is like a Hitler speech,
and they
or something
do it.
Like that.
It just plays the actual tape.
They just do the voice.
Impersonation.
Yes,
yeah.
I don't. It's crazy. It made me like cringe a bit.
I wasn't sure what would be funnier
good.
though is if they were doing it in their voice or not. And I think honestly to not get a
they had
like
to
the
do
PC
this.
card pulled on
Definitely.
them. It had to be the actual tape.
They definitely totally had to do it this way. It plays into them being like supernatural demons that can do stuff or whatever. But oh man, when it cuts to who let the dogs out and like now his bow tie lights up, I didn't know whether to vomit or cringe or like how to react or laugh.
Loved it?
Or I don't know. I had seriously mixed vibes.
Most things Ted Danson does, I'm just in.
We're fine.
I'm just like, oh yeah, that's what he would do. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
what the actual Ted Danson would do. Yes.
Yeah. No, the actual Ted Danson is always down the party.
We see, so like we've crafted Michael as a character who's supposed to be lame, so it makes sense.
Yes.
And
he likes lame
things. But seeing something so lame just hurts me. It just makes me feel something or whatever.
That might just be the Baja Men.
It might be the Baja Men's fault. You might have to put those dogs away.
Put them down.
Trevor, last thing. How do we feel about Trevor? It's the guy from the show.
I like the character. I like the guy playing the character a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the character itself is fine, but I do think certain things I'm like, it's a reach.
So I think it reminds me of, do you remember 30 Rock? Liz Lemon's boyfriend, who was the guy from Oz, who's the mayhem guy, I think, right?
Okay, yeah.
Who's like, hey, ding dong, hey, dummy, and like calls her stupid names or whatever. I was having flashbacks.
He would actually be a better version, I think, of the Bad Place runner.
It would just be him being the same character from whatever.
I'm okay with that.
But he
does that very well.
I know, and like this guy, I don't think quite fits the whole.
He had cancer.
Ugh.
Survived though.
Oh. Him calling her like a trash bag and stuff was kind of okay at times, and like later he does like a whole like, I gotta know, is this gonna happen? And like stuff like that. I chuckled at that, and I also actually died when it cuts to like the wide shot and he is clipping his toenails at the restaurant.
And he says something like
He's
watch your eyes. Or,
hey, hey, you may want to keep your heads down. These babies tend to wing around the room a little, like something like that. Yeah. Just like woo or something. And like that cut to wide, and like it's not even him, his face or his foot. It's like the cut. The timing of the cut made me laugh so much and made me like the character enough that I was able to get through it. But yeah, I think some of the delivery's not ideal or whatever.
No.
Not really. I'm not as.
But it's a writing issue.
Yeah.
It's not him.
Well, or it's a writing issue or a casting issue where someone else might fit that dialogue better.
Maybe. I just think some of that writing, I'm like, I can't imagine how it would be said that it would be good. Like it might play well on the page, but in reality, certain things are like that doesn't work. You should use different words.
I know, and I agree with that, right? Because there's certain stuff that happens in there where I'm like, I would have seen this in like the script room and been like, this doesn't work. Number one, this is from 30 Rock. Number two, this is not going to play. Like, hey, what does he call her a lot? Ding dong, I think, something like that. I like the trash bag, but just it felt too weird. Like, hey, poopy head, let's go over and do this or whatever. It just didn't.
All right, shit sandwich.
Didn't roll with it. Yeah, maybe get like realer or like worse.
Well,
about
he can't
the whole
curse
thing.
either.
I know,
and he might over the years like of visiting the good place know and have evolved his speech there to like I still need unique things. I don't want to say asshole.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe all those dumb things are actually. But don't they have to rhyme or start with the same letter at least?
Don't know the rules.
I don't know the rules either. Interesting. They should have called it out if that was the case, because there might be some brilliant stuff where you could know what curse word or like what slur he's really using. But I did not pick up on that if that's the case.
No, I did not either. Didn't think of it till just now.
So it ends with them kicking the bad place crew out, saying that Eleanor's going to stay in the good place. I presume both Eleanors are going to stay, because I didn't see her getting let out, right? So
yeah,
I don't know what the plan is there, but it's going to be interesting.
Sure.
Because we know for a fact that Tahani and Chidi are actually soulmates to a certain degree. They had a moment.
Yes.
Maybe nothing will
But I
come of
wonder
that.
now that
However,
his real soulmate is there,
It's his real
is it going to
soulmate.
be a love triangle?
I don't know what it's going to be.
And is that going to only be until... Because now that Eleanor, now that... what the hell's her name?
Tahani?
Tahani knows that her soulmate's not there.
That's what I'm saying.
Does she try extra hard to get Eleanor's soulmate? Or does she turn this guy in? Does she risk that getting herself lowered even higher in the numbers because she's turning in her soulmate?
Right?
Who's to say?
I think it's going to be great, because we're going to have real Eleanor hopefully still there, and then fake Eleanor feels like a third wheel that'll push her over to someone else. I don't know who she ends up getting more close to. Maybe Michael.
I would anticipate.
Right?
Yeah. Because that'll be a personal pet project of his to try to make sure she knows that she's supposed to be there or not.
And that leaves less time for them to coach. Jianyu. He ends up being left out in the cold. Has to spend more time with Janet, further influencing her as she rebuilds her like neural network. Oh yeah, and it's just a big orgy at the end.
There you go. All right, guys, that's this episode. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, internets. I just love watching JustDaggers. If you've enjoyed this video as much as I have, click that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.